Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this LinkedIn Live. I always love LinkedIn Lives because they feel like having a conversation on the couch and you just take home so many nuggets from these. So I know that I'm really looking forward to this. Bootstrapping is a question that we get a ton inside of Female Founder Collective and the 10th House. So before I go into what that is, brief introduction. My name is Avery Bradford. I am head of programming and events for Female Founder Collective in the 10th House. Female Founder Collective started about 3 years ago as a nonprofit in a way to give back to female-founded organizations so they can grow as businesses and within their community. And then within the last year, we started the 10th House, which is our private community. That's where we offer programs, we have pitching events, we have plenty of resources. We have private cohorts and many other resources for female-founded businesses who are looking to grow and really looking for a community. And within that, we also form partnerships with companies that we really believe in and that are grounded in our values, which is how we've come to this event today with JPMorgan Chase & Co., which I'm extremely excited for. We have partnered with them on an online course that is going to be coming out here in about a week and a half. So if you are not in our email list yet, I highly recommend that you go to our website and that you opt into that, because if you are a member of Female Founder Collective, whether it's the membership or the newsletter, you do get $100 off on that online course. And it's just in time for 2022. It's a financial planning course. So you will really be able to restructure your finances and level up your finances from A to Z with this 6th course. So I'm not going to tell you too much about that because the official announcement hasn't happened yet, but I did want to give you that little teaser as a reward for being part of this LinkedIn Live today. Without taking up any more time, I am going to pass it over to the wonderful Sam to get started with this conversation about bootstrapping.
Great. Thanks, Avery. And hello, everyone. My name's Sam Azzarello. I'm an executive director at JPMorgan. I grew up in asset and wealth management, so basically helping people with their finances from a personal perspective. And it's something I'm very passionate about. And an extension of that, whether it be female finances or personal finance more broadly, is obviously entrepreneurs and business finance and funding. So that's a little bit about me, but today is really about Vanessa. And I just want to give an introduction on Vanessa Blanco, who's a senior business consultant at Chase. She has multiple years of experience in business banking. And as you will see, as we talk and kind of just riff and talk about different things, she brings subject matter expertise, a deep caring about her clients, and a lot of passion. So she's very respected at JPMorgan, cash management, credit solutions, business acumen all around, lots of good things. So I'm really excited that we're going to be able to speak with her and get lots of good knowledge and kind of expertise around all things bootstrapping. I'm going to turn it to Vanessa because she's involved in various projects and initiatives at JPMorgan, and I want her to mention a few of those before we move into the conversation.
Thank you, Sam. Really appreciate it. Good afternoon, or if you're in New York, good evening. The sun has already set. So happy to be part of this conversation today. As mentioned, my name is Vanessa Blanco. I am a senior business consultant here at JPMorgan, and my role in specific is to really help mentor and coach minority entrepreneurs with a strong emphasis on the women population. I am a product of immigrant parents who have started their business ever since I could remember, and I've been working since I was 11 years old. So whether it's VC funding or borrowing from a family member or how do I pay this bill, I've heard all sorts of conversations. My experience has always lied in the entrepreneurial umbrella. I've worked with businesses as large as $250 million to as small as I have this genius idea and it's going to go public. So very happy to be here, Sam. We've also added a handful of fantastic links to the chat where you will be able to find JPMorgan's Women on the Move. If you are someone who's interested about learning more of how JPMorgan can help you in your business, we also have, in order to take part in our consulting type of mentoring program, it's also there on the site. And then also, most importantly, we have some great PDFs and easy to read articles that start off as how do I write a business plan, or what is a balance sheet, Why is a business plan important? So I always highlight these amazing landing pages in order for you to learn more. So very happy to be here with you all today.
Amazing. So check out those links. We're going to post that in the chat. And just to echo Vanessa for a moment, we were talking about this earlier. There's a lot of beauty in the basics. And sometimes I think we can kind of relegate basics to the side. But like you said, P&L, business models, coming up with a revenue plan, all these good things. We have lots of resources. So check out those links. But we will get into the discussion. So I wanted to start by asking Vanessa to speak to the different types of bootstrapping models. Like there's a lot of different things: sweat equity, customer funding, personal debt, credit loans, all that good stuff. Vanessa, take your time because I feel like this really matters. Talk us through the different things and what you think of them.
Sure, absolutely. I always say, no matter where you are in your business, make sure that you as a business owner are the number one advocate for your business. Make sure that you live and breathe your business and that you are so passionate about your business that no matter who you come across can be an advocate for your business. So when we talk about bootstrapping, right, the idea traditionally is, where can I get a loan? Or where can I get a grant? And the reality is that both those conversations can be difficult ones. So I always say, think about your immediate, circle of influence. Who are the folks that are going to be interested in your idea? But most importantly, if you think about your product or service that you offer, is it solving a problem? I always say in my 15 years of banking, the best businesses are those that solve a problem. Naturally, you can build a business by selling a grand idea or something that's in the know now. But I always find that those businesses that really solve a problem are those that folks are really interested in. If you take a look like organizations as Spanx or I was having a conversation with Sam earlier. There was this genius woman who created a sanitized changing table. And I'm like, how come people didn't think about this before? Or something as simple as having a metal hook to attach to a table so you could put your hand back there so it doesn't have to sit on the floor. So it's all of these things that really help solve a problem that you can get people engaged, right? And then when you start asking about money, as we can probably all have been there in some form of another, people are like, well, what's in it for me? But when you talk about a business, you really have to think before those people ask you, how am I going to be able to pay you back? And what is the value add? What are you really engaging in, and what are you going to get in return from this? Because the reality is that people will give you money if there's something in it for them. I hope that answers the beginning question of our conversation for this evening.
Amazing. So I guess just to kind of bounce off that, something we were talking about earlier, it's easy, not saying one way is better than the other, but we were talking a little bit about, sexy tech and VC funding and how it's been in for a while. It probably won't go away. But you said something so, I thought, illuminating around the passion that bootstrapped entrepreneurs can bring to the table. And you were telling me a little bit about your background with your family. So let's just go a little deeper on that. It's not saying one is better than the other, different times for different things, but you want to just speak to a little bit of that kind of idea of VC versus bootstrapping, at least a bit.
Sure, absolutely. I think it's really important to know your industry. I think it's incredibly important to build a tribe, right? And realize who are the folks or industries or businesses that play in your space. As you all have probably read articles, this is the year of the woman. And I always like to say, I was reading a Cranes article that I've actually posted on my LinkedIn, and it was actually incredible to see, and don't quote me on the number, but it was in the double digits of VC companies looking to fund women-run businesses. But with anything else, you have to make sure that there's value add for the investor. The other thing that I always mention is when you think about your business, there's a handful of different ways in which you can obtain financing. But the biggest thing that you want to think about is how much of your business do you want to give away? And every business is a little different. Perhaps on the idea and or the actual resource needed, maybe you don't have to go the VC route. Right? VC routes for the most part, although I'm not an expert, and definitely take a look at the FFC module and a lot of the helpful tips that we have, but it goes back to knowing your tribe, understand the VC world. I know it's a hot topic now, but it doesn't mean that every industry falls under that umbrella. Sometimes taking a look at sweat equity. And what does that mean? I happen to work and I happen to mentor this phenomenal business who her background is actually, she worked at Nike for many years. And as we were going over her numbers, she had 5%, and it's relatively a newer company, and she had 5% equity stake for her employees. She goes, listen, I can't pay a lot. These people are used to making over $100,000, but I've brought them on probably at about $40,000. But what I have given them is equity stake in the business so they can have skin in the game as well. I bring over their expertise and knowing that we build this company together. The other thing that I would say to that is that depending on how you look to obtain financing, whether you go to a bank, whether you go to a CDFI, whether you go to a separate organization, people are going to want to know how many owners are at the table and how fast can I get out of the business or the deal if I give you my money. So understanding ownership and how much of that you want to give up is really going to help tailor what kind of funds and resources you'll be looking to obtain.
That's really helpful. So you spoke, Vanessa, to the idea of ownership of your business, control over direction, right? Motivating the people working for you and bringing over expertise. And I guess I would just ask you maybe, because I just think this is unbelievably important, the sense of accomplishment, but also being forced to build a business model that really works. Do you have any examples from your years in the business that could maybe illuminate that idea of like when you've seen it go well and maybe not so well and what we can learn about that? Because I follow a lot of this too, and I am under the impression that at times it's clear the business model works. Okay, great, we're moving forward, but it's not always as easy as that. So can you provide any insight around that topic?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that coming across so many businesses and being a woman, I'm always number one fan for anything women run. But the number one common thread of those businesses who have really succeeded is that they haven't been scared of two things: ask for help and to fail. And it's very easy to say that from the outside, right? But the resiliency of knowing if you're solving a problem, people are going to buy it. If you're genuinely looking to solve a problem, if your product or service is either going to make someone's life easier, whether it's B2B or B2C, business to business, business to customer, whether you're solving a problem, whether it's, I'm sure you all have seen this. I unfortunately don't have a doggy, but I went out hiking last week and my girlfriend had something that looks like a water bottle, and you flip it over and then it becomes the little tray for the water for her dog. And I said, how come I didn't think of that, right? But it's one of those things where instead of her having to carry her bottle of water in a cup for the dog, it was all in one. I have another good friend of mine who's coming up with this genius idea. I can't share it now, but it basically, again, within the dog world, it eliminates you having to carry three things and it attaches it to a leash, right? And I'm like, this is needed. But to answer your question specific is be resilient. Keep knocking on doors. We've all heard of these glory stories, right? That what you see as the end product was never the first prototype, right? It was never the first idea. There was a lot of trial and errors, a lot of tears, but most importantly, as you think about your management team, and as you think about potentially looking to ask for financing, whether it's VC, whether it's grants, whether it's traditional banking, you have to be able to explain the strengths of your business, but most importantly, the weaknesses. How are you going to mitigate the weaknesses in your business? Do you have the appropriate management staff that has expertise in XYZ? If you make it easier for the lender or for the family member or for those who potentially are going to inject equity, if you make it easier for them to understand how they could potentially lose, but you've already thought of it, I think that makes for a much easier conversation. And most importantly, when you think about credit, in any type of umbrella, there's always 3 C's that people look at. Character. Who are you? Are you upfront and honest? Cash flow. Is your business making money? The tech world is obviously a different animal, and we can definitely have separate conversations about that. But how can I potentially make money as a business? And lastly, collateral. So when you think about collateral and depending on the type of credit you're looking for, in the event that your business goes south, how am I as the lender going to get repaid? Because I don't want to be a business owner in conjunction with your business. I want to make sure I get my investment back.
It's really helpful, right? And the thread that I would pull out, I guess, which is the more, I would say, like sparkly aspirational piece, but if you're bringing value to the world, right? If you're bringing value to people you love, you care about, communities, and even broader than that, that's the starting point really for something that could potentially be very successful. So building off the C's, I know we like things with numbers and letters and we can remember them. Let's talk about cash flow. I don't know if it's always inevitable. Again, I'd love to hear stories, just anything that you can use to bring this to life. Maybe it's not inevitable, but is there often times where entrepreneurs are going to be stretched when it comes to cash flows? Do you have any tips, ideas, tricks that you've seen to optimize that? Is there a chance that it does go smoothly, but is it more often than not that I guess cash flow could be something that's ebbing and flowing, at least for early growth founders?
99.999% of the time, specifically, and you know what, I don't even think it's fair to say that in the beginning, right? If you are a company who has experienced tremendous growth in a short period of time, and this is something that I see very often, is I have all these POs, all these purchase orders, I can't fulfill them. I don't have the money. And these are conversations that, unfortunately, unless you have, a Rolodex of cash that is just coming in, you're going to have to think about how you're going to finance your business. I think I'll share a very important scenario that I had with one of the businesses that I help coach. Here's a business that works with data analytics, and they happen to work for a gaming company that potentially will go public very soon. And this is their one client, and they have one product offering with them. And the business owner, him and I get on the phone, and he's so excited because now the contract is going from $500,000 to potentially north of $1 million. And he's like, I need money to hire staff tomorrow. And I said to him, I said, well, I understand the need. I said, but if you think about leverage and risk, right? Who's to say that this company might not dump you tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. Who's to say that your one offering that you have for this business, someone else isn't going to come in and do it better? And I shared this with him because I said to him, I said, right now, what you don't need is to hire more staff. I understand that that's the ask, but if you come to me as a bank and or an institution, we're looking to see, how do I get paid back my investment? And if you are just one client, one product, the risk of you losing that, you're pretty likely to be a high risk company. So I more than likely would not be able to lend to you. So our takeaway in this situation was grew really fast. But what he really needed to see is, how do I help penetrate this relationship further by adding additional products or services to this company? And most importantly, with my current staff, who is the network, if we want to stay within this industry, that we can bring on as additional customers? That way, when I go to ask for lending, I now have a diversified portfolio. And most importantly, I have diversified products or services that help bring in income from different ways.
That's really interesting, right? Because I could imagine a scenario where it's like dream product, dream client, it's all working, it's all good. And I mean, we know diversification from a personal finance and investment perspective, but it makes sense. I'm hearing you, right? Diversification from the way the bank would look at lending to a founder or a business like that. So, okay, then we're going to talk about bills and salaries that one would pay themselves while they're paying their bills and paying themselves while they're bootstrapping. And I'm wondering if I feel like there's often feelings and emotions wrapped up in money. And I'd imagine in starting a business, running a business. So do you notice anything that's perhaps a little bit loaded when it comes to paying oneself as a founder? Do you have any tips, any helpful insights there, or also paying bills, which is the other side of that coin?
Sure. So two very good questions. I always say, when it comes to paying yourself, I say 100%. But furthermore, I always say, make sure you consult with your CPA. And if you don't have one, I highly recommend that you seek the guidance of one, specifically depending on where you are in your journey. The reason why I mention this is, as we all saw with the PPP of the world and everything that happened last year, paying yourself and making sure that you're paying your employees on the books was crucial. Most importantly, when you pay yourself, you are now able to show income. And depending on where you are in your ask of financing, most of the time, depending on the sales volume and how long you've been in business, most of the time, lenders will ask for your business and your personal returns, right? Because what we're trying to identify is cash flow. Do you make enough to pay us? But most importantly, is your debt much more than what you actually bring in, right? So I always say, as a rule of thumb, always, always, always pay yourself. But most importantly, make sure that you're leaving a nice cushion. I always say about maybe 30%, but definitely consult with your CPA to withhold for taxes. As we take a look, when we talk about lending, we take a look at those 3 C's, and character being one of them. If you're not paying your taxes, that can be that can be frowned upon based on character. And then when it comes to bills, I always say, I mean, we live in a world now, and I'm sure that, depending on the age here, but I remember when cash was king, right? And now cash doesn't fit in your small handbag. It doesn't fit on your phone. And most importantly, it doesn't give you the travel rewards that we all love. So the culture has changed. I always say that the best way to build business lending history is by starting off with a small business credit card that you can get at your local banking institution and or online. But I always say using a business credit card to pay your bills, in my personal opinion, I think is king. It gives you the opportunity to not only earn rewards, it gives you an opportunity for you to track everything via your online or mobile portal. And most importantly, it helps build your business banking credit history on that business credit card. And also, you don't have to pay it up right away, right? When we talk about cash flow, which was the initial question, by being able to help manage when your cash actually goes out, that actually gives you leverage, whether it's inventory that you're buying or equipment that you need. And you get a discount. Maybe if you purchase on cash, now you have that cash where you didn't have to spend your monthly bills, whatever the case may be, because that's now sitting on the business credit card.
That's helpful. I'd make one amendment. I would say, so it sounds like having a business credit card is queen. No pun intended.
I think that was excellent, Sam.
Okay, so now this is a 2-part question, and they feel slightly connected to something we were talking about earlier. So what is your view, and you've alluded to this with different anecdotes and stories of experiences with your clients and people you've mentored, multiple revenue streams. Is that the way we want to go? Is that always going to be the route? And then connected to that, I guess, this idea of building up a business or an idea. You must get it a lot, I'm imagining, from family, friends, or people that accost you in the JPMorgan lobby. When to move and make something a side hustle to your full-time thing?
Very interesting question. And I don't have the exact answer. And the reason why is I think that if you're an entrepreneur, you already have something in your DNA that says that you're different. You're a risk taker. You're someone who probably breathes your business, lives for your business. And I genuinely believe, in my personal opinion and my professional opinion, that you have to be able to say, X, when I reach X sales, this is going to be the time. With all the guidance that there exists, whether it's through cohorts, whether it's through PDFs, whether it's through Google, no one knows and no one should know your business better than you. Naturally, we all have to make a living, but I always say that you should set up a number and or some sort of a metric that you would say, when I get here, this is when I'm going to devote it, right? Because when we talk about lending and we talk about the 3 C's, if you're going to come to me, and I'll just use you, Sam, as an example, and let's say that you've developed these beautiful blouses. If you're not 100% committed to your business, why should I give you money?
You shouldn't.
right? And that's really the way that you got to think about it, whether you're asking for $10,000 or $1 million, because we, from an institution, we look to say, how do I get paid back? You might have the most brilliant idea. How do I get paid back? And you always, when you think about whether it's writing your business plan or even thinking about developing a product or a service, always think on the other lens. I want this business to grow, but if I'm going to knock on doors, how can I reassure that individual or institution that I will be able to pay them back?
That's really helpful. So you've given us a lot of wise words and really good things to think about. And I know we've referenced some of the resources. I want to be conscientious of time. So I guess my last question is going to be around team building. And you already alluded to this somewhat, different phases, different stages. How do you think about team building and I guess spending that money on salary and people while one is bootstrapping?
Yeah, very interesting question. I think it definitely goes back to know your business better than anyone else and look to build a tribe of those who are committed to the same mission as you. Nowadays with companies, and we've all seen it, whether it's a great idea, they haven't even sold a product, but they have folks engage through VCs and they blow up overnight, right? But making sure that you know what you're very good at, but most importantly, knowing what you're really not good at and making sure that you're able to bring in team members who believe in the company's mission. I think personally that a great way to entice those who have that level of expertise is by providing some sort of equity in the business. If that is where your business is, you can set it up in a handful of different ways. Definitely a conversation that you can definitely reference back to FFC or even take a look at some of our landing pages, but look to consult with your CPA as well, right? And most importantly, when you think about bringing on these folks, depending where you are in your journey, how are you going to entice someone who, I'll just throw it out there, let's say that they're making $500,000 at X company, but they believe in your business. How can you say, hey, I can't pay you $500,000. I could potentially pay you $60,000, but here is why. And most importantly, if that person doesn't see that vision, then that might not be your business partner, right? You want to make sure that you bring on folks that believe in the company's mission. That way they're working as hard as you to help push this forward.
Amazing, and a great way to end. So with that, I want to turn it over to Allison Wyatt, who's the CEO and co-founder of the Female Founder Collective, to wrap for us. Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you.
Thank you both so much. That was super helpful. I think all of these women have been in the shoes of trying to figure out how on earth they're going to continue to push their businesses forward, to grow and to thrive. So those points of advice were super helpful. And I love this notion that you really need to be the biggest expert on your company and you need to sort of show your devotion to it. And the character traits was something that was relatively new to me. It makes perfect sense, but it's a great reminder that having character extends beyond just being a good person, but also into the business sense. But thank you very much. Before we wrap, I do want to remind all of you that FFC has partnered with CEO of Finance Savvy CEO, Marguerite Presley Davis, and JPMorgan Chase to bring you your profit playbook, which is an amazing 6-week course that is going to help you get on top of your financials and really have that foundation for your business so that you never get to a point where you're so off course and you can sort of never get back from it. The course will offer a pathway to building out your financial confidence, your acumen, your know-how, and ultimately a financial plan for your business. So sign up for our email newsletter and you can learn more about the course and how to get $100 off the program. But thank you all again. Super enthusiastic to have you. This is a very important topic that I know so many founders are up against, and you really helped sort of crystallize ways to go about bootstrapping and beyond. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.